Morning, guys. I'm hanging out at Dunkin' Donuts a little this morning before headed in, and just wanted to visit with you for a few. Some of you guys know I've been studying Nehemiah, and Nehemiah is about God's call on, a lot of it's about God's call on Nehemiah's life to rebuild the broken down walls of Jerusalem. And so he had caught wind that Jerusalem was struggling and the walls were torn down and it was really vulnerable, and felt God's call on his life to go and rebuild the wall and establish the city as a place of strength and honor. You know, a lot of you guys know I love movies like Braveheart and Patriot, and I'll watch them over and over and over, and I was watching The Patriot recently. And if you've seen that movie, what happens is the main character, who's played by Mel Gibson's son, gets killed, and he goes to rescue his other son who got captured by the British Army. And he goes, and what happens is he sneaks up on them in the woods, and he kills all the officers first. And then the rest of the troops are in shambles, and they start panicking and going crazy. And he's able to take them all out pretty easily after that, after taking out the officers. And honestly, I think that's what the enemy does to us, is if you're not a threat to him, then he's not going to mess with you. But as soon as you really start focusing in on trying to do what God has called you to in your life, I really think you got a target on your back. And so if you're being messed with today, take that as good news, as weird as that sounds, that you might be on the right track, especially if you're trying to do God's work, whether it's full-time ministry, which I think everything's full-time ministry for a believer. Working in a church is what people would call that, or if you're full-time ministries at a business or working at Dunkin' Donuts behind me, that's still a full-time ministry. When Nehemiah was talking with his people and trying to encourage them, they faced a lot of ridicule, and even to the point of their enemies started plotting of how to kill them. And Nehemiah, in Nehemiah 4, the Bible says, "When I saw their fear, I rose and spoke to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people. Do not be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your houses." And I would encourage you guys today, if you're really focusing in on God's call in your life and you're experiencing a lot of adversity, I know folks who've really stepped up to become officers, if you will, helping with the online campus and East Campus. The enemy's gunning for you, and know that I pray for you a lot. And I would encourage you to remind yourself, as Nehemiah reminded his people, reminded his men, of who it is that you serve. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and remember who you're fighting for. You know, your family, your people, your culture. Remember God's call on your life when you're feeling like you're running out of gas and tired. And take heart and take courage, knowing that you're fighting the greatest battle, that God's got you in this great story that's already been won, and we get to be a part of the adventure. So, love you guys and pray for you often. Thanks for checking us out this morning. See ya.